Well, good afternoon, friends. Good afternoon. Welcome. Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Dune and Friends. Today we have a wonderful friend joining us from Calgary area. So we have a little bit of an Alberta thing going here. We have Mr. Tim Borys joining us. And Tim, can you still hear me in the green room there, my friend? Wonderful. Folks, grab yourself, your favorite tea or coffee or whatever have you, and settle in and join us in the conversation for an hour and a bit here, when we're going to be talking about health and happiness and personal performance and professional performance and all those wonderful things that are important in life. But first, let me do a quick introduction of our guest today, Tim Borys. Tim believes in really that improved health and happiness and personal performance helps us cultivate greatness in our lives and improve the world around us. As a former elite athlete, New York Yankees draft pick, and national level coach, Tim is an expert at eliciting higher performance from individuals and teams. For over 30 years, he has helped people and organizations ignite their potential in work and in life. Now, in 2020, he was recognized as one of Canada's top trainers. Tim is the CEO of Fresh Wellness Group and author of 5 books, including the Fitness Curveball series and Your Work From Home Productivity Handbook. He can be found at Tim Borys as well as at Fresh Fitness Calgary, or through his website at www.fitnessgroup.ca or www.timborys.com. So, folks, with that short and sweet introduction, let's join me in welcoming our wonderful guest, Mr. Tim Borys. How are you doing today, my friend?
Doing great, Dune. Thank you so much for having me on the show. And this is awesome. I'm looking forward to chatting over the next hour or so.
Wonderful, wonderful. I have a shirt that's similar to yours. I'm glad I didn't wear it because we would be looking like we coordinated our fashion. And that's something guys just don't do, or maybe we do. But
maybe we should more often.
We should more often. That would be more interesting if we do that. Hey, so Tim, tell us a bit more about, maybe give us an expanded introduction. Bio was great, but tell us how you got here, my friend. Give us some stories along the way.
Wow. Lots happened. I say I've lived a pretty awesome life so far. I'm happy, healthy. I love to travel. I really think that life is awesome. And most people today, or a lot of people today, are not experiencing that. You just have to look at the negativity out there and the stress and the frustration in the workplace. And people are just getting through life instead of thriving. And I believe there's a better way. And I think more people, if they realized how simple and straightforward it is, would feel the same way as well.
You're loving life and you want to help more people to love their life as much as possible, realizing that life is not easy. Life is not, kind of straightforward. We have to navigate life, but life is wonderful, and life is, as you said, you're loving it and hoping to help others to also do the same.
Absolutely. Yeah. Life is what we decide to make it.
Yeah. Wonderful. So tell us, tell us a bit more of your early days. How did you get into sports, my friend? Like, what was the first thing that caused you to say, I'm interested in sports?
I don't know. Well, my parents were a huge influence on that. They got me being active and healthy throughout my childhood, and they put me in all kinds of different sports, from baseball to hockey to soccer. At school, I played all the school sports and really just loved being active. They took me outside hiking. We went camping. So that was filling part of my childhood. I have so many amazing memories of, even running around the neighborhood with friends, playing in the forest, and hiding behind my friends' backyards. It was just a fun time to get out and play. And I think a lot of kids today don't get that as much, but there are still lots of opportunities to to play. And I say to adults all the time, I work with corporate executives, and most adults have forgotten how to play and to just have fun and laugh and move their body and realize that it's all connected. How we perform up here is the same as how we perform through our body.
Yeah, everybody say they want to be more creative, but they somehow shy away from play, and play is a key part to creativity, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, there are so many studies that show even just getting up and being active in the office sparks your creativity and allows you to think differently.
Yeah, yeah. The story you told about your parents really creating that environment. They created that environment that was conducive to the vision that they have. And frankly, that is leadership. Leadership is to create the conditions that are conducive to the results or the behavior that we like to see. And so folks out there, if you can be really a leader in someone else's life by creating conditions that would allow them to thrive, whether it's in creativity, whether it's in play, whether it's in sports, whether it's in business. When we create those conditions, we're being great leaders.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And from the sports side, I've worked with lots of different people over the years in high-level executive roles. And it's interesting how many of them came from an elite athletics background. And the mindset starts to shift around when you have to put in the work to dedicate yourself to accomplish something in a sport, but even in other areas of life, when you have worked towards an objective that's worthwhile and meaningful, and you've had to struggle, you've built the resilience, and now that process changes you. It allows you to think differently and approach life in a different way, whether it's business, kids, or family, or relationships. It's you start to think differently, and you become a different person through that process.
In other words, sports doesn't just exercise your muscles. Sports actually exercise your brain and your thinking and your capability and your really overcoming challenges, overcoming obstacles, and putting up with rough days and all those kinds of things. I look and I think of Wayne Gretzky, and I would bet now. Hopefully, folks do know who I'm talking about. Wayne Gretzky, the hockey player, number 99. I'm sure he knows a thing or two beyond skating and shooting puck, because hockey, the inner game of hockey, to operate at a high level, which we'll talk about because you got into a very high level in your career as well, my friend, and requires all those soft skills and all of those fundamental skills, underlying skills to be developed, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be organized sport, just that process. So it could be an individual sport where you're training for a marathon or a triathlon or some type of event that you have to go from A to B and put in the work. And that's the process. Whether it's writing a book or climbing Mount Everest, everyone has their own, there's the saying, everyone has their own Everest to climb. And that's the process of that is what changes people and what transforms them. And when you approach that process with a growth mindset, all kinds of great things can happen.
Yeah, you bet. Well, thank you for sharing that. Now, I just wanted to, again, mention to our viewers out there, thank you for tuning in live, folks. And please feel free to interact with us and ask Tim questions via the comment section. So right on the video there, if you comment in the video comment section, we'll be able to see it and feature it on screen, and we'll be able to interact with you. It's even more fun when the more people get involved. So Tim, tell us, how did you get into this again, the New York Yankees, and how do you get into pro level sports? Tell us the story that led up to that.
Yeah, that was just my parents. They put me in baseball, and I really loved it from a young age. I was playing baseball and hockey. I played a few other sports, and then those became the two main ones that I did. Hockey in the winter, baseball in the summer, and it got going as I went through the different age levels, had successes at various levels, and lots of failures too. But when we got to the point where I was in high school, I was doing quite well at both, and had the opportunity. I got offered to go to play junior hockey in a local junior team. And around that time is when I got drafted by the Yankees. And that made the decision for me. I decided to drop hockey and go with baseball full time. And it was a fantastic journey. Played National Baseball Institute with Canada. And you're seeing a picture of me of one of my first baseball teams. And I think I just lost a tooth at that point. That's why I was, smiling and showing the hole in my smile. And the whole process was just excellent. I always felt that I was supported. And again, my parents were such a big role in that. They bent over backwards to do everything they could to ensure that I had those experiences and I was able to participate in them, which is such an incredible thing to have. And looking back on it, it was transformative in my life and was a huge part of who I am today, both the process of the sport, but also the support of family and friends and the community you develop throughout competing in these different events and the different teams. And as you go through the ages, you have, Dune mentioned it before about the soft skills that you develop, transitioning from one team to another, being able to work together as a team when you're struggling and suffering and losing. That is able to define who you are as a person. And so, seeing a bunch of great pictures. And one of the things that I think sparked my love of travel is the fact that as I was competing more, I was able to travel to all different areas, all across the US. We went to the Little League and Junior League World Series in Florida about 3, 4, or 5 years. I can't even remember now. That was a long time ago. But we went there and we got to compete on an international level. And it was fantastic to see teams and people and athletes from all around the world that shared the same goal and the same vision. And that community aspect is amazing and transformative part of, I think, anyone who goes through that. It helps create a new passion and love for being able to challenge yourself in new ways. And I got to experience different cultures, different mindsets, and was able to, spark my love of travel. Well, I never did get to play for the Yankees, had some elbow and shoulder issues that allowed me to get my school paid for, and I never did get to the Yankees. So that's something maybe in the future, and they'll have a retirement team that I can join when I get a bionic arm and I'm able to throw better now. And that was a picture from my National Baseball Institute. And one of the cool things there, we were sponsored by the Toronto Blue Jays, and we got to play a charity game against them every year. So this is a picture of, I think, in Manitoba when we played them one of the years. So I got to pitch against the Blue Jays, which was awesome, and did fairly well. They didn't light me up too badly like they did some of the other people, but that was a really cool experience to meet your idols and meet the pros that you're aspiring to be. And it was a pretty amazing experience that stayed with me. And that always amazed me when I look at these pictures, how far my arm bends back. That's probably why it was sore all the time.
Yeah. Well, when you shoot for the stars and you only land on the moon, you still have a pretty awesome journey there, my friend.
Yeah.
So, set your goals high and pursue it. And it's all about the journey. And the journey changes who you are. The journey really give you confidence in areas that wouldn't otherwise be there. So again, the most important thing is that we evolve as we go through these experiences, right?
Well, that was one of the reasons I got into the fitness side. Is as I was going through my baseball career, I had a lot of arm and shoulder issues, and I was in shoulder, or I was elbow at that time. I think elbow rehab at 13 years old, and physios were working with me as we started moving along through that process. I was learning more and more about the body, because that was, call it the early to mid 80s, when I was first having some arm issues, and not as much was known as it is now about conditioning and rehab and the ability to take care of yourself through that process. And so that got me really interested in that, because I wanted to be able to keep playing for longer. And eventually, when I went to university, I was taking kinesiology and the psychology from the sports psychology side. So those were really cool. And getting into the fitness industry, again, allowed me to travel, to meet some amazing people from all over the world. And one of the coolest parts is some of these pictures are from trade shows that we traveled to all around the world. And yeah, just such a cool part of the growing up and being able to build my career.
Awesome. Now I want to kind of put a spotlight on your, again, the baseball career and really with the New York Yankees. So obviously, were you living not too far from there, or was it a long move from where home was to be in New York or in the area?
And yeah, so with the draft, what they do is when they draft you, they basically have your rights for a certain amount of time, and they follow your progress. So they said, yeah, this is someone we want to focus on. I was living in Vancouver at the time, Vancouver, BC. Yeah. For those Americans, not Vancouver, Washington, but close by. Yeah. So we were in Vancouver, and I had offers to go down to the US to play in the States, and I ended up deciding to choose to stay in Canada to get better education. At that time, I was already having a bit of injury issues, so I was like, okay, I want to make sure I have education that is worthwhile, because some of the schools in the US where the education was not as high or at the forefront as it probably could be. Yeah. And so I chose to go to Simon Fraser University, full ride scholarship, and the Yankees followed me for that time, and I was having some fairly good seasons. And then the injury issues started to get worse, and they didn't pick up my rights again, which was unfortunate. So it was, but I got my school paid for and have some very cool experiences to show for it.
Absolutely. In fact, I just put a post on social media. I think it was last night or early this morning. It's all a blur now. But when we have to adapt, right? So reality gets thrown at us, and we have to adapt. And bring what we can from our past, but really focus on the present and where to go next, kind of thing, right? So you had a wonderful ride, frankly, that most of us and most of the people out there can't imagine or dream of, that never had the opportunity. So you had an awesome opportunity, and you made the most of it. And as you turn your attention to other aspects, we'll get to that in a moment here. But before we get into that, let's go into that time machine, and we're gonna go to the future, like the present day. Okay, 2020. Tell us a bit more what you've been up to. Obviously, it affected all of us in various ways. COVID here. Tell us what your week has been looking like, Tim.
Just this week.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
Or even last week. You got a full week last weekend.
Yeah, it's a combination of we're in the office a little bit, but I'm working from home probably half time, depending on the day. And I have a team that's distributed. Some of them are in the office, other ones are at home. And we connect every morning, have our game plan for the week. We have our goals that we're working towards, and we're plowing forward, COVID or not. Yeah, we just adapt.
Tell us a bit more about the team that you referred to, and just expand on that a little bit. What are you up to with that organization? Tell us the background. Tell us the focus.
Yeah, so Fresh Wellness Group is my company, and we have a couple divisions of the business. We do workplace wellness consulting for organizations, as well as run fitness studios for those companies and property developers. So it's B2B, but also B2C, because we'll work with the company to say set up their fitness center, set up their wellness program within the organization. But then we also have the employees or the tenants in those buildings coming to use our services. So we have a bit of I guess, two separate units, but they are very interactive. So on a day-to-day basis, our team is working with both our clients on the corporate side, as well as clients on the fitness, wellness, coaching side.
Yeah, cool. Now, when did you start that whole fresh wellness or fresh fitness group?
Well, it's definitely evolved over the years, but I moved to Calgary from Vancouver in late '99, just before the millennium. So I got to spend New Year's 2000 at Cowboys, for those of you who remember the old Cowboys. I was actually working there at the time, and that was an adventure. But moved here in early 2000, started up the company 2002, I guess it would be, 2001, late 2001. And up until that point, or the first couple of years, it was just me. I was doing personal training, working at a couple different studios around town, and then was able to open my own personal training studio in the downtown core. I guess that would have been 2004, I think. And I started to hire a bit of a team around 2005. And I had a bunch of clients who were corporate executives that would come in for their personal training, and they would start to say, hey, you know what, this is really great information. Can you talk to my employees about this? I'd love to have you come in and do a seminar. So that's where I got into the speaking side of the business. And they would say, oh, well, hey, what other programs can you offer for our staff? Because we've got this going on and we've got this going on. And I just started setting up programs for them. A couple of the companies had said, hey, we're thinking about building a gym. Can you get us some equipment? And so I helped them choose what equipment to purchase, how to lay it out, and put some programs in place. And there was the facility side of the business born. So it's evolved quite a bit since then. And we have lots of different facilities in different areas. And we worked with a ton of different companies, which has been great. But it all comes back to just trying to help people live and work in a healthier, more fulfilling way. Yeah,
that's wonderful. Now I'm going to bring up your website and just to maybe as a way to kind of show off a little bit what people might find if they were to go to your website. So I'm going to just bring it up here and tell us a little bit about this website here, Tim.
Yeah. This is the freshgroup.ca, and it's our portal site, I guess you would say, that takes you to the various other sites that we offer. And my business coach would say that I've got too many things going on, but I get bored if I do the same thing too often. So we have our overall goal is to help people experience that life is awesome and that it's going to be better when you're healthy, fit, and active. And by helping people do that, there are so many different areas that we can help in. Again, one's the corporate side, and if you scroll down, you'll see the different business units. So we've got the facility design, we've got the corporate consulting, the speaking, different book options, but they all come back to that philosophy that to help people experience a better life.
Right. So again, it's awesome. Do you have a phrase that goes with that sort of umbrella of things that you kind of focus on? Is it a lifestyle kind of thing? Or I'm just curious if you have something that encompasses all of it.
Lifestyle is part of it, but what we say is it's about igniting your potential. And
I love that, igniting your potential. Wow.
Yeah, a lot of people think their potential is fixed, but it's actually a growing capability. Every time we learn something new, our potential expands. And so we want to be able to ignite that ability for people to look at the world as a growth opportunity instead of just trying to eke out an existence.
Love it. Love it. So again, hence a good fit into the whole motivational speaking and corporate training and all those kinds of things. So that's fantastic. Who knew when you got into fitness a number of years ago, or pro baseball a number of decades ago, that it would at some point become motivational speaking, and at some point it would become corporate training and all things like that. Hey,
never would have thought. In fact, I was scared, petrified to speak in front of an audience. I remember in school, even having to stand up in front of the class, I would be frozen with fear, even just saying anything. I was very shy, and I'm still an introvert at heart, and it's been interesting to work through that process for my own mindset and my own personal growth to realize that we can overcome those types of challenges in life, and to think differently about ourselves and ignite our potential.
Mm-hmm.
That potential is there to create the change that we want. We just sometimes need a bit of help to do it.
That's fantastic. Tell us a bit about your experience with CAPS. That's where you and I met, the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers. What's your perspective on that group, and why you joined that group, and what's your feeling about that group?
Yeah, CAPS I heard about through a mutual friend of ours, Michelle Cederberg, who's a dynamo in her own right.
Yeah.
And we knew each other previously through the fitness industry. And we'd been working together as trainers and fitness educators for a while. And I started seeing that she was starting to do all the speaking, and she was getting corporate contracts and speaking at conferences and different events. And I was like, oh man, she's doing really awesome. And then she wrote a couple books, and I'm like, man, like Michelle and I have like the same background and the same passion, experience. So I just reached out to her and I said, Michelle, like, you're rocking it. What's going on? Like, I want to do what you're doing. And so she said, well, gave me some advice and said, you should check out CAPS. And sure enough, I did. And it was fascinating. I had no idea that this world of professional speakers was out there, and being able to connect with like-minded people in that area. And I knew nothing about the industry. And I'd actually been doing speaking and presenting for quite a while, but I never thought of myself as a speaker or presenter. I always thought of myself as just a personal trainer out there trying to help people. And joining CAPS blew my mind in terms of, I can improve my ability to communicate this way, and I can improve my presentations, and the ability to really help people that's what I got out of CAPS. That, in addition to connection with what's probably the most amazing community I've ever been a part of. Anyone who's been to a CAPS convention has their mind blown in terms of how open and genuine this entire community is. And that's, like, I've been to lots of fitness conventions. I've been to different business conventions. I've never met an organization like CAPS with such a genuine willingness to help everyone, from people that have been in it for years and are at the top of their game. From the first convention I went to as a VIP, my first time, wasn't even a member of CAPS yet. I just went there and I didn't know anyone. And I was sitting down and talking to people that were Hall of Famers. And that was, to me, that was the most amazing experience. And every single year I look forward to CAPS convention. And I'm interested to see what this year is going to be like with COVID, with the digital one.
Yeah, we're doing it virtually this year, and then next year it'll be in Calgary. And so it was supposed to be in Calgary this year, but it's going to be virtual this year, and next year will be Calgary. And I've been to 10 of those, in-person convention, every convention since 2010 when I joined. And you're so right about that story, which is so typical. My very first convention, here's a Hall of Fame, not only a Hall of Fame, but the first Hall of Famer in caps, Tom Stoyan, walked up to me in his typical kind of style. He says, "Hey, Dune, nice to meet you. How can I help you?" They lead with that. How can I help you? Right. So, and then not I'm so and so, I'm so and so, I'm so and so. It's like, nice to meet you, Dune. And he listened to my background a little bit, and he says, how can I help you? So wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. I'm delighted to be in the same group as y'all, and it's a long-term thing for sure. Yeah. So tell us a bit more. So how did you find the business side of things? Some people might be watching and they might say, you know what, maybe I do have an interest in starting up a business on my own, and maybe I do have some other strengths and skills. Tell us a little bit about the journey of going from being a high-level pro athlete level, if you will, again, drafted by the New York Yankees and spending your presumably a lot of time living that world, breathing that world, and all of a sudden, I shouldn't say all of a sudden because it happened gradually, but getting into the business world and creating your own business and hiring employees. Tell us the stories about that transformation, my friend.
Yeah, I had no business experience at all. Kinesiology, psychology were my degree. And so, nothing to do with business. And I guess when I was just personal training at various places, and as an independent contractor between various spots, I had to get my own, call it business number. And that was my first foray into it, go down to the registry and, pay the $35 it was at the time to get a business number. And then I'm like, oh, hey, I'm a business owner. And I had no idea about marketing, about accounting, sales, strategy. It was just personal training. And it was when I moved to Calgary, I had started working more and getting more independent clients, and people were like, how do I pay you? And I was like, okay. I had to go get a business bank account. And it was just learned organically through that. And I look back and I thank my early clients so much. They must have loved me that much because they put up with the lack of business acumen. And it was amazing that, it's testament to how passionate I am about helping people that they stayed with me. There are clients that have been with me and with my other coaches I've been in Calgary 20 years now. I've got some clients that have been here 16 years. And so it's been amazing. And there are clients, even the first client that I had in Calgary, he's not training with us anymore, but we still keep in contact and we're friends and we hang out. And it's amazing because over those years, I've learned a lot about business, but just like CAPS, it's about asking for help and going and connecting yourself with those communities. I was able to get some business coaches early on that helped me through that process. I took some courses that were from other fitness business owners that have been quite successful, and they helped me get some systems and processes and I guess strategies in place for growth and marketing. And that was a huge help at the beginning. It's been a really big learning curve, and it's also part of something that I enjoy because learning and growth for me is one of my core values. And so I look at it as just another fun thing to take on.
Yeah.
And if I need to learn about SEO and Facebook marketing, I'm like, okay, I'll take a course. I'll learn. I'm happy to say I have no idea how to do it. I can either hire someone to do it, but I want to know enough to ask the right questions.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's part of that mindset of, yeah, bring it on. Let me learn.
Love it. Again, I want to highlight what Tim had just said there, folks. Tim, you said a few things that really resonated with me. One is the importance of self-awareness. I'm not good at that, but I know I'm not good at that, but I do want to get good at that. So self-awareness is a very important part of life. And the other one is really the ability and desire to learn, right? So I joke sometimes and people say, what do you do for a living, Dune? And I joke and I say, I learn for a living because, learning, there's actually ways that you can figure out in methodology where you can actually accelerate the learning. So those of us who almost feel like we're professional learners, really find it exciting and interesting when the world throws us, as you call it in the bio, curveballs along the way. Because every time there's a curveball, we have to really kind of be on alert and say, okay, I'm going to really, really crank up my learning now.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the curveball. I wrote the book before COVID. Some of my clients that I've talked to are like, you should re-release it now because it's, the unofficial COVID survival handbook.
There you go.
How to get through from the mindset and the habits. Yeah. So I haven't re-released it under a new name, but.
Well, you can always market it under that new concept and then link them to that book. But yeah, that's cool. So tell us a little bit more about this part of your career journey. I'm going to highlight those photos again here. So it says Power Play on there. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. So this is a company that when I first moved to Calgary, I met the guy on the ground and the guy on the right, Dan and Fraser, and they were other personal trainers at a studio that I was at. And Dan had just started this company called Power Play doing kids fitness programs. And then Fraser and myself partnered, and we changed the name to Fit for Play. And we ran that for several years, and it was an amazing experience. It was actually one of the best experiences of my life in terms of the power of collaboration and team and creativity. We basically would go into a school and take over the phys ed program for anywhere from a day to a month and run alternative phys ed programs. Well, what were alternative at the time? That was almost 20 years ago. So things have changed a lot. And a lot of the things that we were doing are part of the normal curriculum now, at least at many schools. And so we had a trailer that we pulled behind the truck. We had sponsors that provided fitness equipment. Fitter First in Calgary has been an amazing sponsor of us over the years. And I still continue to work with them today, but they provided the funding for the trailer and also filled the trailer with equipment, exercise balls and balance boards and bands and yoga mats. And we would go in and run everything from kids boxing programs to sport conditioning to even for the elementary school kids, we did animal yoga and exploratory movement to music. And it was just a ton of fun. At the peak, we were working with around 70,000 kids a year. And we were full time. The woman in the picture is Jenna. She was one of our first employees. And so we had an amazing time. We also did obviously personal training as part and in addition to the school programs, but it was awesome. And we got to the point where we were traveling to trade shows. We even developed group fitness programs for fitness clubs and traveled down to Las Vegas and put on workshops for different chain fitness centers. And it was a little Harvey the Hound. It's one of the Stampede things we were at.
Cool.
So that was a cool experience. But we got to the point where in order to grow it and expand it, we would have to either create a corporate, like a foundation. And that was more time and effort and legal bills than we wanted to take on at the time. So we disbanded the company and we each went our separate ways. And all of us have been amazingly successful since then. And that's when I got into more the corporate side and opening my own studio and presenting to different corporations and organizations on how to help employees bring a bit of play and fun and movement back into their life so they can be more productive and happy and healthy. And this is one that I did at Synovus a couple of years ago. It was Movember. I've got the mustache during that time. So
yeah, love it.
I don't normally have the mustache.
Love it. Just want to highlight here. So going from kind of purple, is that purple or is that kind of almost like pinkish, but from those bouncing balls to kind of suit up for the boardroom here, but no ties, which is refreshing.
Weddings and funerals are the only times I wear ties. I like the sport jacket. I'm happy to do that, but yeah, even there, I've got some Converse All-Star on, so I try and keep it casual.
Yeah. So tell us, I'm going to dig a little deeper. What's one or two or three things that you really like about the professional speaking or corporate training, or again, broadening your work beyond the physicality of fitness?
Yeah, and that's the interesting part, and what I feel I can bring to it is that I've seen that side of it. I know that side of it very well on the fitness side. And what got me into the speaking in the corporate side was that so many of my clients coming to see me at the studio for personal training and to lose weight and get fit, in order for me to help them, I realized that it wasn't about the gym. It wasn't about, dieting and exercise. That was one component. And that's why I wrote the book, The Fitness Curveball, because the main question I say to people is like, they come and say, okay, my top two goals are get fit, lose weight. Those are 99% of people you talk to. That's what they want. And I'll be like, great. You need to exercise regularly and eat well. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, so why aren't you doing it? And they just stop. They're like, well, but work's crazy busy. I've got a family. I've got this, and I've got all these things going on. And I'm like, so I could give you the best workouts. I could give you this perfect nutrition plan. It's not going to matter until you figure out all that other stuff. And so the first step was helping people shift their mindset around what they needed to do. And then it was putting the habits in place that are the success habits that will help them be successful and perform at their best. After that, once they have those two pieces, the fitness and the nutrition become easy. And when I started to talk to companies, the corporate culture in a lot of organizations sets people up for failure from a health and happiness standpoint. It's that whole mindset around nose to the grindstone. I worked with a lot of lawyers at the beginning, and it was like this: if you weren't working an 80-hour work week, you were a slacker. And it was, you'd get people in their 30s and 40s having heart attacks because they were just stressed. They weren't sleeping. They weren't taking care of themselves. They were just, they cranked out 110-hour work weeks for 10 years. And then they literally fell over and died. It's like, how is that success? And so it's not that you have to necessarily work less. It's maybe working better, working more effectively, and taking care of yourself so you can perform over the longer term. And if I go back to the athlete side, talking to people about, as a professional athlete, in order to perform well in your competition, they don't just show up on game day and rock it out of the park. There's a whole process that happens behind the scenes. They have their training, and they have their recovery. They have their team of physiotherapists and doctors and psychologists and strategists, the offensive and the defensive, and they're continually learning and growing and practicing these skills so they can get into the game and perform well. they're essentially sharpening their saw, if you want to use that analogy.
Yeah.
So they can show up at the game with a sharp saw and be able to do effectively what they want to.
Yeah, it's a holistic approach. Any really worthwhile endeavor is going to require a team sport. Now, baseball is definitely a team sport, but I can imagine there are baseball players out there and baseball teams out there, perhaps in the non-pro days, think of themselves as the just players out there doing fantastic thing and not relying on the extended support of all the people that you spoke about and more.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a pitcher, in my worst days, I'd sometimes forget about that.
Yeah.
And that I did have a team behind me. Would try and do everything myself, because as a pitcher, you are more in control of the game from some aspects than other players on the field. But there'd be times when you make your best pitch and someone still hits it, and then a player makes an amazing play to rescue you in that moment. And there are other times when they need your help too. Someone's struggling at the plate, the team's not hitting that day, so you've got to double down and try and be better on the mound so we don't have to score as many runs. And so it's always a team effort, even in individual sports. My kids are in even mountain biking or gymnastics. I think people think of gymnastics as an individual sport, but there's a whole team around them. And even the other day, my daughter came home and she made a breakthrough in one of her tumbling routines, and she said the rest of the team was cheering on the side. They all they recorded it and they were all yelling and celebrating, and they were celebrating her success. Mm-hmm. And she celebrates their success when they pull that through. So that there's always that support, family, teammates, even the fans.
Yeah. Well, I want to highlight a couple of things. You mentioned the whole story around some of the lawyers and other folks, corporate people that you work with, where they really, really kind of push themselves so hard that it becomes damaging to their health and so on. We understand that about vehicles. You can buy a brand new car and take good care of it, and it's going to last for a long time. But if you don't take care of it and push it beyond its design parameters, things are going to break down, and consequences are going to be had, right? So the idea is just understand the design, and human beings are designed to be not working, 18 hours a day, every week, every year. That's just not how we're designed. So eventually there'll be consequences, right?
And that's a huge part of what we talk about in some of our presentations with corporations is even the people who are, quote, active and go to the gym. Mm-hmm. If you've been sitting for 7, 8, 10 hours, your body is adapted to a seated position. It's not moving well. There's no brain muscle connection. And then you say, oh yeah, I'm off to the gym. And you come in, or whether it's a group fitness class, you go to the gym and you try and get your body to perform. But what you're essentially doing is taking a broken down wood paneled station wagon and trying to loosening the lug nuts on the wheels and then trying to drive it on a rally course and expecting that it's going to perform. It just breaks down. And people wonder why does my back hurt or my neck hurt or my shoulders hurt? Because they've gone from this seated position and they're like, yeah, I'm going to get up and do all these explosive exercises. It doesn't work that way. We have to train our body to perform well.
Which is a great reminder for me that perhaps today of all days, I should have went with my stand-up setup, right, Tim?
Absolutely, yeah.
I should have went up with my stand-up setup rather than my sit-down setup here. But anyway, so tell us a bit more. When you work with these organizations, if you could just highlight the one of the biggest challenges that organizations face when they work with you, that they're trying to get you to kind of help them with. What are those 2 or 3 biggies for them?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? What are the challenges the organizations are facing?
Yeah. Typically, so when you work with various organizations and they engage you to help their executive team or help their management team or leadership team or whatever, what are some of the key pain points that they tend to want you to help them resolve or address?
So I'll approach it slightly differently and say, what are the pain points they think they have, and what are the pain points they actually have?
I'd love to hear more about both of those.
Yeah. So the challenge with corporations, and this is almost across the board, is that wellness is seen as some line item expense, or maybe a perk that just needs to be offered because we have to have it.
Yeah.
But it's never, at least rarely, if ever, tied back to top level corporate performance. There are very few organizations that have a VP or C-level person that has a KPI related to employee health and well-being and employee health and performance. And that's an issue, because when we go into companies, they're often will meet with someone in HR, typically a junior HR associate that has wellness as part of their portfolio.
Yeah.
And they have a real job to do, but they have this wellness that they're doing off the side of their desk. And they can be the most well-meaning and enthusiastic associate out there, but that part of their portfolio doesn't tie back to their manager, their director, their VP. So there's very rarely a budget for it. There's rarely enthusiasm from higher levels to make things happen. Even when companies have a full-time wellness person, that person is often shouting into a vacuum in terms of the needs and responsiveness of the organization. And so where I really want to see companies go is to have a C-level or VP person with that as a KPI. So now it tracks down to the day-to-day tasks that people are doing, the programs, the strategy, the initiatives that are being launched within the organization to benefit, not just, and I'm not talking, like a nutrition challenge or a thing. Those are tools in the toolbox, but launching all those things without having a strategy of why it's important is just money being spent. And, in Calgary, we see this all the time. When oil was $100 a barrel, companies are like, yeah, we'll have a massage therapist come in to the office. We'll offer this, we'll offer that. We've got these gym subsidies, and we don't care. That's fine. We're not tracking any numbers around those things. And so it's not having a huge impact. We don't know the impact it has on the business. And I've talked to CFOs and said this too. I'm like, I'll often say, do you have a wellness program? And they say, oh yeah, we have a benefits plan and we do a gym subsidy for employees. I'm like, okay, if you have 500 employees and you give each one of them $1,000 a year as a gym subsidy, that's $500,000 a year that the company is spending on a gym subsidy. I'm like, did you know that stats across North America show that of the people who have a gym membership and pay for it, less than 20% of people use it enough for it to be useful from a health standpoint? I'm like, so if you're spending $500,000 a year, that's $400,000 a year that you might as well just light a match and burn it because it's not being utilized. And the 20% that are using that money would probably pay for a gym membership whether you paid for it or not, because they're the ones that are going to go to the gym. You give them like an empty phone booth and tell them that's their gym and they'll use it. And so it's great that you're investing $500,000 a year or whatever that number is, but there are probably better ways to utilize it. and how can we put that in place? But gym subsidies seem to be a bit of a sacred cow for people. It's like, ooh, we can't touch that. Employees would revolt. So we've worked with lots of companies to come up with different strategies and unique to their organization, and how we can better utilize the resources that they're already investing, and they don't have to necessarily even spend more money. In fact, a lot of times they spend less and get more.
Yeah, you've already mentioned one of the 7 habits of highly effective people, as in Dr. Stephen Covey's book. You talked about sharpening the saw, but begin with the end in mind is the other habit, another habit, highly effective people. So begin with the end in mind. So the idea is, now here's the thing: all these executives, they understand all these things, that they just don't necessarily think of health and wellness that way. So they don't engage in that ring to exercise all those skills that they know very well, strategic planning, blah, blah, blah. But they just sort of delegate it, or just kind of put as you mentioned, a budget item, and just a line item on the budget, and just kind of clear it off their kind of radar. But what you're saying is again, more than ever, health and wellness is going to determine the efficiency and productivity and the well-being of the organization. How could the organization be, well if the people are not well, right?
Yeah, you get unhealthy, stressed out, sleep deprived, and people in a COVID environment where uncertainty and stress and mental health challenges are out there. If those aren't being dealt with, it's astronomical the impact it has on productivity, especially over the long term. Yeah. And a lot of executives actually get this personally, because I've met lots of C-level executives and VPs that are healthy and fit themselves, and they do it. They've gotten to that level because they're high performers, mm-hmm. and they take care of themselves, but they don't realize that the rest of the company may not. Yeah.
Now, I wanted to ask you, in my view, flexibility is a big thing for most employees and most organizations. So much so that I heard it been said that flexibility is a new currency. Flexibility is a currency. So the question is, do you talk about flexibility as it relates to health and wellness in organizations, Tim?
And are you talking flexibility from a work environment, or flexibility as in, like, can I touch my
in a work environment?
Most important.
So I think you alluded it to before. Rather than just giving everybody a gym member, really be flexible about how they engage their health and wellness support from the organization.
For sure, and there. Lots of companies out there have what they call the health spending accounts, and those are definitely much more flexible. And we see lots of people coming into our business that use their health spending account on personal training and coaching and things like that, which is great. People buy mountain bikes and people buy sporting gear, which is excellent, mm-hmm. if they're using it. And we hope that people use it. But I know people that have bought mountain bikes with their health spending account, and they're sitting in the garage and they've never ridden them, and skis that they never use, and home gym equipment that they never use. Mm. And so there's a big component of that. And what we try and do with companies in that regard is say, great, you're able to track who's buying what. So why don't we help people better utilize that gear? Because we want them to buy a mountain bike. We want them to take a active adventure vacation. Yeah. But we want them to be able to utilize that and move their body. And certain programs and targeted programs can help with that.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, looking at a more holistic approach to caring for people, rather than just giving them some money or giving them some allowance, or as you mentioned, health spending account, because those who are not already, that 10 or 20% that you spoke about, who are kind of motivated and driven and knowledgeable and inspired to do it, they're going to do it. But the rest of the folks who are not in that category need a little bit of leadership from the organization. To really, right? And as you're a big organization, you can engage experts like yourself to really help the people, rather than just giving them some money, which may or may not do the right things.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the amount of large organizations, the amount of money they're already spending on these types of initiatives,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of it's just being wasted because it's not utilized. It's there and employees never even know it's there,
Mm-hmm.
or it's not being utilized in the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we go in, we can help almost put the puzzle pieces in a different order to better create a better system for that organization.
Yeah, yeah. People fine tune their business processes. People fine tune their strategies and practices. But not a lot of people focus on fine tuning their really employee and team and organizational kind of health and wellness. I guess. Tell us a little bit about more about your website, your other website here, and what people might find on there if they go there, Tim.
Yeah, this one is actually in the process of being redone right now, rebranded. But this is the old one. It's it just outlines the different speaking coaching opportunities that are available to companies, and whether it's a conference or a sales event or a corporate team building event, happy to come in and do speaking engagements around that. We've got definitely the books and different education. Yeah, and do keynotes and conference breakouts. And that's really where companies can go to find out more on the speaking side. And we have our Fresh Corporate site for more on the corporate consulting aspect.
Yeah. Tell us about your book writing journey. Here we are, here you are, a pro level athlete, and again drafted by the New York Yankees, and focus on that. And at some point in your journey there, you wanted to convert that into some knowledge and wisdom to share, practice, and whatnot. Was it fast or slow or difficult or easy to write your first book?
like my business journey, it was call it more of an organic process.
Mm-hmm.
I just literally sat down at the computer one day and started writing. For the first 6 months, I didn't even know what I was writing about. I was just writing. I take a bit of time in my morning routine every morning, and I would just put down ideas. And at about the 6-month mark, I'm like, okay, now I know what type of book I want to write. And it was about basically my coaching philosophy and helping people perform better in their life. And people are like, oh, who'd you write the book for? I'm like, well, I wrote it for myself, actually. Because it was really a chance for me to think hard about how I coached other people and what are the things that actually helped me in my life to improve. What are the things that I've been able to utilize with clients, and distill that down to helpful step-by-step process, essentially. And that's why we have the 4 pillars. And it's actually the picture there is the original book, and I'm just in the process of launching it as 4 separate books, because people pick it up and they're like, wow, oh, this is a real book. It's like almost 400 pages, and people are like, oh, I don't have time to read this. And so yeah, it's fairly thick when you go through it, and so I'm breaking it up into 4 separate modules.
Could you show that again? Could you show that book again? Yeah. There you go. Turn it sideways so we see the thickness. There you go. So that could be daunting for some people who are not into reading books on a regular basis.
Yeah, I've done book signings and things like that, and I'll go and people pick it up and like, oh, like, wow, this is a hefty book, and they're like, oh, I don't have time to read this, and they put it down. All right. So in order to help people better, I'm literally breaking it up into 4 sets. It's the Twitter generation, right?
Yeah. Love it.
People want short and bite-sized. They don't want to read War and Peace right now.
Cool. Hey, I want to play a video clip of you in action these days, and there's a clip here that I have in mind, and I believe it's called the Death of Corporate Wellness and Healthy Workplace of the Future. And so tell us a bit about that before I roll the clip here, my friend.
Yeah, this was crazy experiment for me. I've done lots of sessions and presentations before, but this was a unique format. Disrupt HR is a really cool organization, and they have a format sort of like a TED Talk, but much more structured. It's a 5-minute presentation, and you get 20 slides of 15 seconds each, and the slides are on a timer. So if you miss your mark, you have to try and catch up. It was probably the most stressful presentation I've ever done in my life, and I was sweating buckets. I'm like, but I'm used to doing, hour-long, 4-hour, 2-day training events. So usually I have much more time to get the point across. This was like, and so it was really cool to do.
Yeah, the difference between a marathon runner and a 100-meter dash.
Exactly.
And 100-meter dash, you don't have time to adjust. You got to nail it. You just gotta, yeah. Cool. Well, let me tell me if you want me to fast forward to a certain spot, but we're gonna play a little bit of this here, my friend.
Yeah, just pick a little bit, and you don't have to show the whole thing. People can watch it online.
Yeah. Let me just take your video off just so that we can see the rest of the screen here quickly. So
yeah,
here we go. Oh, sorry. Let me just correct the sound here.
And rethink our approach to creating healthy, vibrant, productive. Welcome. After 20 years in corporate wellness, I've observed that 90% of programs are make-work projects for already busy HR professionals. That's why I believe that wellness as we know it is dead, or dying a slow death. But that's a good thing. This is our opportunity to assess the critical flaws and rethink our approach to creating healthy, vibrant, productive workplaces. Between non-existent budgets and poor support, programs can end up dull and sometimes exist simply to tick the "we value wellness" box on some corporate checklist. People are rarely inspired by the programs, and they don't expect much more than gym subsidies and the odd nutrition seminar. Consequently, engagement's pretty low, unless we bribe people with Timbits to attend. The fact is, what we're doing isn't working, and we need wellness more than ever. Employees are stressed, time-strapped, disengaged, and the stats show it. 2 out of every 3 people are either overweight or obese. 58% of employees have high stress levels at work. 25% are engaged in their job. 15% are actively disengaged. And the rest, they show up, collect the paycheck, and hope to fly under the radar when they can. In case we haven't figured this out, this isn't good for business. But what if wellness could be transformative? Not just for employee health and well-being, but for engagement and the business bottom line. What if we could disrupt wellness and make it the business builder that it should be? You see, companies can expect a return of $3 to $8 for every dollar they invest in effective workplace wellness programs. There isn't a CFO out there that would turn down the opportunity to invest in this type of asset. So why do so few companies prioritize this investment? It's because they fail to realize that wellness isn't about programs, perks, or challenges. It's about mindset. More importantly, how that mindset is applied to the business each day. Things like EFAP portals, challenges, lunch and learns, health fairs, they're all great for engagement. But without the right purpose, strategy, and support in place, they're ineffective at best. Corporate perspective needs a shift to thinking about wellness as a business investment rather than some nice-to-have perk that can be cut when money's tight. Sadly, we see this thinking in business every day. We know that wellness is a great investment, Yet most wellness budgets are equivalent to what companies spend on paper clips and pizza lunches. This isn't good for HR because it sets you up for failure.
Thank you for sharing that. Where was this, my friend? Must have been, was it in Calgary?
This one was in Edmonton. And there were, I think, about 500 to 600 people there, which was amazing. And it was, you can tell how nervous I was. Looking at that, I was like, what's going on? But it was such a fun event to do, and the energy in put on by Disrupt HR was fantastic. They've done some incredible events, and they do actually disrupt HR all around the world. Actually, pretty sure it's around the world, similar to TED events.
Yeah, HR like accounting or
human resources.
Like many other professions. Are evolving rapidly. I mean, with the world changing so fast, whether it's HR, whether it's finance, all of these kind of core pillars that we've known for decades are being reinvented and being transformed, aren't they?
Absolutely. Yeah, HR is coming leaps and bounds, and particularly during COVID, HR has been thrust to the forefront of the economy. Finally, I make the joke in this presentation about the final thing is that all the HR professionals in the crowd should ask for a promotion to chief people officer, because very few companies actually have a chief people officer. Most of the time, they'll have COO, chief technology, chief operations, chief executive, and then there's a VP of HR. Yeah. So I make the joke about HR needs a seat at the big kids table, and they need to be seen as a valued peer. And I've heard some HR people say over the past 8 months of COVID that they've had more conversations with the C-level executives than they ever have in the previous 10 years of their career, because now they're like, oh, what do you mean? Like, how are we dealing with our people? The whole time. And
so again, every business and all business are really in the people business, and you know, in kind of, I'm going to say, easy time or typical time, sometimes we take that for granted, and then during times of crisis like we are in right now with COVID, you know, the clarity of how important the people aspect is get spotlighted, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Now, tell me a little bit about your presentation in the. This is another clip that's similar, but was it the Calgary kind of library or?
Yeah, the new library. Yeah. It's beautiful venue. Yeah, spectacular spot. It was the same presentation, just for the Disrupt HR Calgary versus Disrupt HR Edmonton.
Yeah. Nice. So I hear it's a beautiful venue, and can you vouch firsthand how beautiful and fantastic it is?
Absolutely, it was spectacular. It's just with the natural wood and beautiful auditorium style. It was They even had like the green room and everything like that you can go into, with like screens on the walls that you can watch the other presenters. So yeah, very, very well done, well organized, and they have like a cocktail reception area out the back where all the participants would hang out before and between segments. Yeah, beautiful venue, set up perfectly for speakers.
In other words, a modern venue for presentations and learning and.
Yes.
But let's take a brief look at it here as well.
Of wellness programs are making.
Oh, take
Welcome.
myself off.
After 20 years in corporate wellness, I've learned that 90% of wellness programs are make work projects for already busy HR professionals. That's why I believe that workplace wellness is dead. But that's a good thing. we have the opportunity to assess the critical flaws and rethink our approach to creating healthy, happy, productive workplaces. And between non-existent budgets and poor support, programs can end up dull and maybe existing to tick the we value wellness box on the corporate checklist. Most people aren't excited about programs, and they don't expect that much more than a lunch and learn here and there and maybe a gym subsidy. So needless to say, engagement's a bit low. Unless, of course, we bribe people with Timbits or donuts to attend. That's helpful. But what we're doing isn't working. People are sick, they're unhealthy, and they need wellness more than ever. And the stats show it. 2 out of every 3 people are overweight or obese. 58% of employees.
Very cool. So tell us a little bit about the HR organization. They've been around for a long time, and I know of course, there's chapters all over the world and whatnot, and certainly in Canada, the organization there. But HR, any thoughts to share about that whole experience working with those folks, Tim?
Super professional. They were excellent, and they put on amazing events. And I love the fact that they challenged their speakers to hone down to that 5-minute key piece of knowledge that they want to have come across. And the breadth and scope of speakers was outstanding for the entire time. I think there were 20 speakers on the night that I was there. 15 or 20. So it was, excellent. Very good. I highly recommend either attending one or speaking at one.
Yeah. In other words, they're very progressive in their approach. They updated their approach for the modern day, is what I'm hearing.
Yes. Yeah, they're definitely leading the way in HR for sure.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to go back in time a little bit, Tim. Tell us a little bit more about, people who are thinking about the next few months here. We're going to be inside this COVID phenomenon for a little while yet. We're not at we're not done with COVID yet, or COVID's not done with us yet. And so as we continue this challenging time here, what are some ideas that you might have for the folks out there who might be thinking, how do I or my family or my children or my spouse, how do we be healthier in our daily lives and whatnot? Do you have some expert advice to share on things that people could think about or try, or new approaches?
Absolutely. The first part is move your body. The human body was meant to move. If you're sitting for more than an hour at a time, stand up and move. If you're at home, it's pretty easy. Just get up and even walk around, do a couple squats at your desk, or stand up and stretch, walk up and down the stairs a couple times. In a perfect world, we get outside, get some fresh air, whether it's walk around the block a couple times through the day. Even if you can, if you're just on a phone call, get outside and walk and take the phone call. And there are so many different ways that we can get out and move our body. But most people are aware of them. They're not hard to do. People just don't do them. They don't schedule that time and make a conscious decision to get it done. And when we do, our mood changes, our creativity changes, we're healthier, happier, and more productive throughout the day. So it's actually, if you say, I'm not someone who likes to exercise, be like, if you like to be productive and do good work, do it anyway. Do it for that reason.
Yeah. People don't do oil changes on cars because they love oil changes. They do oil changes because they want to protect the engine, that they need to be reliable for their drives, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Hey, just a quick tidbit. So my wife does very well in that department. She's a homebody. She loves to stay around the house, and she doesn't like travel and whatnot. But every day, even staying home, every day, she clocks in over 20,000 steps by Fitbit kind of recordings. So about 23,000 steps just staying home every day. So she just moves a lot.
That is impressive.
In the house every day. 24,000. Like at 12 o'clock, she's already at 15,000, right? So we're at 123 right now, Alberta time. If I go there and check on her watch, Fitbit watch, she'd probably already be at 16, 17,000 already.
That's crazy. Yeah, I know. At the start of COVID, mine went down from about, I probably averaged about 9,000 a day, and I went down to about 1,500.
Yeah. So that's one thing. Move your body. What would be the next thing? As they say, move it or lose it. They say. What would be another idea for people to focus on or try?
The ability to connect. We spend so much time on Zoom, but get out and connect genuinely with people outside of a work situation. And with COVID, that's harder. And this is really on the mental health side. If you can get out and be distanced with people, go out and do that. We have friends that we get out with, and we go mountain biking, or we go out hiking, or just walk around the block, and wear a mask, we're distanced, we're staying safe. But the ability to engage on that personal level is so missing right now for a lot of people. And I'm lucky. I've got 2 kids and a wife at home, and so we have people, and we have a bit of a cohort that we're with to engage with. But I've talked to clients that are single, living in an apartment, working from home, and they don't get out that much. And that starts to really drain on mood, energy, productivity, and happiness. And when we can connect with people on a personal level, it makes all the difference. Even if it's literally a Zoom again, or a FaceTime, or something that we're calling up a friend. I've gotten in the habit of just picking up the phone and texting a couple people something positive, what they mean to me. And that makes me feel better. It makes them feel better. And if you do a couple of those a day, it just automatically boosts your mood.
Yeah. So again, human connections, as close to physical human connections as possible. With COVID, we have to be safe and all that. So that those needs to be considered. But just for fun, have you ever watched that show called Tim the Toolman Taylor, Home Improvement?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Do you remember that guy, the neighbor? What's his name now? Wilson, right? He's like his face is always, you can't see his face because it's always behind that fence. But they connected, right? Tim and this Wilson guy, they connected as neighbors. In that particular show, for those of you who have not seen it, it's every time they have a shot of Wilson's face, it's always like half covered by the fence because he's always right. But we recognize his voice and maybe his forehead, right?
Yeah.
So that would be an extreme example of, connection happens even though you're not right there, face to face, fully per se. Connection can still happen.
Yeah.
So what would be another idea? Yeah. What would be another idea for people to be, healthier during these trying times?
Yeah. I like to say when you move your body, learn to move it well. So this is a great opportunity for a lot of people to get a bit more coaching and to move well throughout their life. And that's something that when people are in the rat race and they're out there and just busy and going through their life, even if they're going to the gym, most people don't think about taking a bit of a step back and learning a new skill, and I like to say make movement one of those skills. But even if it's not a movement, learn something new and use this opportunity, whether it's you want to write that book or learn how to dance or learn how to play guitar. There are so many things that we can do that will keep us engaged. So if we're moving our body, connecting with people, and learning new skills, I think we're well on the way to being happier, more fulfilled people.
Again, back to that, use it or lose it, whether it's have to do with a physical being or a mental being or emotional being, we have to exercise those muscles, right? And that includes the brain muscles as well, brain cells as well. They need to work out. So you've done some sort of more intimate sessions as well. So it's not just big corporate events. You've done various venues along the way.
Yeah, started out doing just small corporate lunch and learns and different seminars and workshops for our clients. And this was one I did at the Light Cellar. A fellow CAPS member of ours, Malcolm, owns the Light Cellar in Bowness, and he had a wellness event. We had a bunch of guest speakers, and so I came in and did a conference or a session on the fitness curveball and how to wrap our minds around the 4 pillars of personal performance.
There you go. So some of these folks are, we had Malcolm on the show a number of weeks back, and he has a very interesting business as well as very robust business that's growing, even during COVID time here, and perhaps because or in spite of, COVID has not impacted his business to any degree that I'm aware of. So he's doing well with the business there, growing, and lots of good stuff.
That's very good.
Yeah. So tell us, my friend, as we round the corner on wrapping this up here, were there topics or areas or messages that you wanted to convey to our viewers who might be watching live now or later that we haven't gotten to yet, Tim?
I think we've covered tons of stuff, and that's great. I would say, make those small little choices in your day and move your body, connect with people, learn new skills, and you'll notice that you're healthier, happier because of it.
Yeah.
I want to thank you, Dean.
Thank you, Tim, for joining us. And I'm going to quiz you on one more area. When you think about your fantastic and wonderful journey that you went from, again, loving sports and doing sports at a very high level, again, being drafted by the New York Yankee and pursuing that and committing to that and going through your university education of various types, whether it's kinesiology or whether it's psychology. Yeah, you mentioned earlier you were not into sort of business thing; it was psychology. But really, business is there's a whole lot of psychology involved in business, right? So yeah. I think you were well prepared for business, unbeknownst to you. Psychology degree probably didn't hurt your business journey, I would say. So in all of those things, business and corporate training, corporate speaking, and working with executives, if I was to ask you the 3 or so top learnings or insights that you've learned through that journey that you want to highlight for our viewers, could be something that you mentioned already before that you want to highlight, could be something new that you summarize. What would those 3 sort of thoughts that you want to share with our viewers? Pearls of wisdom from Tim Borys.
I would say life's a lot better when you take care of yourself. Keep learning and growing, and make sure it's fun. Like, whatever you're doing, enjoy doing it. And obviously you don't have to enjoy everything you do, but if it's a scale, like, go more on the side of enjoyment than not. And those 3 things are very simple, but I think a lot of times people get the blinders on and lose sight of them.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing those 3. They're the big, powerful 3. And may I add just some thoughts around the enjoying it. I joke sometime and I say, you know what? If you decide to enjoy something, and after it's all done, the experience, you say, maybe I shouldn't have enjoyed it so much. Okay, you might be wrong, but it's a whole lot better than deciding not to enjoy it and then afterwards realizing that it could have been enjoyable if you decided to enjoy it, right?
Well, and there's a caveat to that: is enjoyment doesn't have to be hedonism. Enjoyment can be enjoy doing things that challenge you as well, and that's part of the learning and growing.
You bet.
And so when you can embrace that aspect, you actually make progress in your life, and you're not just like, I might enjoy Netflix, but I'm not gonna sit there and watch it 10 hours a day.
Yep.
So things like that.
I love that, and thank you for bringing that out. So being the architect of our lives, being the CEO of our lives, our job is to make sure that we align that enjoyment with a purpose, with a mission and purpose. Align that kind of life's work or whatever you want to call it with this life enjoyment. The more you can align it, the more you can have a fantastic life, right?
Absolutely.
Rather than saying I got to go to work and that's not at all enjoyable ever, can never be enjoyable. My work is just like drudgery or whatever have you, and then I'm going to go home and I'm going to enjoy my life, and then I'm going to go work and suffer. That's one way to work it, but that's probably a better way.
I agree completely. Yeah, life's too short to hate your job, and you might be in a job that isn't maybe the best thing in the world, but find a way to make it enjoyable, whether it's you're committing to doing good quality work and you're proud of the work you're doing, or you're making a positive difference in someone else's day. Those are things that you can always have control over to focus on. And rather than just being like, that part is just, I just show up and put in the time, because then you're not benefiting anyone.
Yeah. Again, live our life the way we need to live our life, and be careful of comparison syndrome, where we compare our job to someone else's job, and we say to ourselves, well, they got a fun job, I don't have the fun job, so I'm in my right to not enjoy it. Well, what if we flip it around and say, well, how can you in fact find joy in that particular job that you have? And then also, how can you find joy in finding your next ideal job? And work yourself that way. I mean, I say this very honestly to all of the folks who ask me about my career that seems to be quite different from one stage of life to another. And I said, I've enjoyed every aspect of, all the different segments. One time I was very technical, and I enjoyed that. One time I was very much corporate, and I enjoyed that. And so I'm guessing the same for you. You enjoy your sports, you enjoy your university time, you enjoyed your starting the business and growing the business. And we just have to kind of squeeze the juice out of life where it happened to be at. Yes, have a long-term vision for what we want to develop into, but don't miss the spelling the rose that is currently in front of us, right?
Absolutely. It's like having kids, right? There are benefits at every age. When they're babies, you get benefits of here, and there are downsides as well. When you're toddlers, same thing, and teenagers, same thing. So you enjoy the aspects of every phase of your life.
Wonderful. So on that note, so Tim, after we wrap up here, if you can hang around in the green room for just a moment, that would be great. I'll give you a high five in there. But friends, thank you for joining us on this live broadcast. And for those of you watching in the recorded replay, enjoy that as well. We'll have this on YouTube as well as Facebook Live here. And so you can watch wherever you like. But if you have questions for Tim, even after the broadcast, feel free to put in the comments, and I'll get Tim to respond to them in due time and as appropriate. But thank you so much for spending time with us. Take good care of yourself, folks. Take good care of one another. And Tim, thank you so much for spending what turned out to be about an hour and a half with us today. And really appreciate your sharing of your journey and experience and insight with us, my friend.
My pleasure. Thank you, Dune.
Thank you, Tim.